So I decided I need to talk more about the reincarnation thing. I don't feel like I can just leave it like it was. But I'm an over talker. So it might be perfectly fine, and somebody else might be like, oh, I get it. I'm going to go look into it more or something. And, that's good. That's all I'm trying to do is get people to, get an interest and know that there's other information out there to go and look into it. I keep feeling like there's got hairs in my mouth today. But I don't know, Stella is so stressed. And that's one thing about dogs. Well, I know she does it really bad, and all of them can, but not all of them do, I guess. But when they get stressed, they shoot out hair like a porcupine. So she's just got so much hair coming out of her, and she's snoring right now. But she is struggling with something. I sure hope this golden paste is going to work, and I really hope that they do the med bed things for animals too. But I was thinking about this is, they should be able to be cured of their illnesses and stuff like that. They shouldn't be dying of, toxins and stuff, but they should also be allowed to die. We shouldn't be able to, just because we can control them, that we do it. Because that's kind of like what we're going through right now, is because they were able to control us. Like, should they? No. And that's what, to me, is always standing out, like, about the dogs. Like, these little fucking enslaved creatures. Some people treat them good, not everybody. But these little sweet things that will make you feel good and wag their tail at you and lick you and, just focus on you. And then they get treated so bad in some people's homes. So it's sad. Is that lady across the street, like, there is a bunch of people, because the next door, she was saying that there's somebody back there who was bitching at her about hers, and then this lady, she'll call animal control if your dogs bark. So it's like, what do we have? Like, these people, like, oh, okay, dogs are cute, but you know what, we should really breed the sound out of them. They don't need to make noise. It's like do you get what I mean about that ethical practices? Like, we had to have classes about that, like going to school. I mean, it's a total fucking joke. Going to school to be a nurse, and they're having class about ethics and stuff like that. Yeah, I was in one of the most unethical institutions, and but let's tell you about ethics. Why? You can't have them. And it's the most disgusting. Medical system is so disgusting. And it's this shame that there's so many people who still buy into it, still believe in it, and still worship it. The false idols. It's just false idols. So, I mean, that is their, I'll go back to the reincarnation. So that is where they're at in that cycle. They still haven't discovered that part. So it can make so much sense to somebody like me. Like, I discovered that like some other life. I came into this life already knowing that. Like, a veil can make it where you can't remember all your lives at once. You can't remember everything outside of yourself because you're focused on this here and now. You're supposed to be. But so the veil is meant to be more of a protective thing, not so much as just a trick, but it's also a protective thing. And then, of course, you're going to take things a lot more serious and learn more if you think it's serious. If you don't think it's serious, then you're not going to learn anything. And that's kind of like a hypocritical thing or something that I'm saying, is like, this, none of this matters, don't worry too much about it, because those are like two different things. But it's kind of like two different places you are in your learning as to what is more significant. Like, if you're working on yourself and you are all caught up in this, like, it's real easy to get caught up in the dark night of the soul, just this self-hatred of, like, you re-experience all of these different mistakes, or not necessarily mistakes, but things that you've done and that have affected other people. You kind of just get washed with it, and you have to look at yourself, and you have to look at yourself of, like, for me, to come out of it as like, oh, this was something I really wanted to talk about. I'm glad that I got back to that. The victim mentality. So you get yourself in this victim state of mind. And so you're coming at life from that kind of perspective. And, one thing is too, is a lot of people, if they haven't experienced that, like, they don't have any understanding. Like, why would someone keep going through that? Why would someone put up with that? Why would these women stay in these situations until they end up dead? And the whole thing is it's the same thing that's going on a massive scale, but it's this manipulation of your thinking. And they can't do it if you're strong-minded. That's why, they prey on people who are more victim mentality, because it won't work. If you read about gaslighting and stuff, it doesn't work on everybody. It worked on me because I wasn't strong enough in myself, that I didn't have my own identity. I saw myself through others' eyes. And so it's always like trying to please others so you can like what you see back. But you can't please others. You can't make someone else happy. You're never going to please somebody all the time. That's why you have to focus on pleasing yourself and knowing yourself. And but when you get in those relationships like that, and you're in that kind of state of mind, then it always gets kind of twisted back on you. You're always like, well, this wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have done this. If I would have done this, I could do better. If I did this differently, then these situations wouldn't happen. So this is constantly trying to, change yourself and stuff. And, something will happen, like, and it's always a cycle. So, like, if you start the cycle with, receiving flowers, somebody brings you flowers and, is super nice to you, really sweet. And then, a couple days later, they've been tallying their sweetness. They've tallied it up. They've kept track. And in their, tally, whoever, in their mind, how they keep track, they're always doing good stuff, but you're not ever appreciating it. You don't appreciate them. You don't appreciate what they do. You take them for granted, and they get really, really angry. And then they turn it on you. And so then when they turn it on you, I can go to any extreme. I mean, we know how extreme that these situations can become now that the domestic violence and stuff has come so, in the forefront of home behaviors, and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Because I was shocked when I was in nursing school to learn how recent, really, that it was okay. It was okay if you beat your wife or your kids. That's your family business. It's nobody else's business. So, your family could walk around bloody and bruised and be just like, well, and that wasn't that long ago. So we've really come a long way. They're all the time when they're trying to tell us like we haven't. That's them. They're the ones who are stuck. They're the ones who are constantly talking about this bullshit. We've come a long way. And yeah, knowing what is acceptable and not acceptable, and saying, hey, if you're being abused, we'll rescue you. And then what even got worse is when they tried to do that for children, they took advantage of it. And they went and took them to worse abuses. So, but now we've seen that part. All these different things that we've had exposed to us throughout time, we're constantly getting things exposed to us. But there's these darker twists to all this stuff. Like, there's a dark side. And, so a woman, she's in that situation, she's gotten flowers, she's trying to do good, but you can never please somebody who is unhappy in themselves. There's just never, their cup is always empty. They haven't figured out how to fill it themselves up. And so that's why so many times that domestic violence also gets kind of in there with alcoholics or drug abusers or people like that, because it is things that they go do to try and fill themselves up. You know, they're ragers. They're they're just they're just kind of a mess inside themselves, but they can be super charming on the outside. They can do and say all the right things. They could be. I've been in this experience. You could be somewhere. They could be talking just nice as hell, just making everybody laugh, think they're just the sweetest, nicest, funniest person. And as soon as not everybody's looking, they are fucking evil. Completely evil. And then people could turn back around and they've got a smile right back on their face. And it starts making you look like the crazy person when you're reacting to them, because all anybody else sees is this charming person, charismatic, just nice as hell. And, you know, like, what's wrong with you? And then they like to go around, you know, and, you know, talk shit about you, of course. But so you get to that part where then the person lashes out. And so the person who's in the relationship, then, you know, for me, I was ready to run then. You know, my fight or flight kicks in and I'm like, I gotta go. But they always lure you back with self-doubt. It always creates self-doubt in my own head. Like, once you get away from those emotions, then all of a sudden it's like, well, wait, was I being a dick? Did I do this to myself? Am I bringing all this on? Am I just making someone so miserable that I'm just, you know, a horrible person? So you go through these cycles, and it takes a long, long time for somebody to build up the strength and override all of this stuff that these people have told them to beat them down, self-doubt and stuff like that. It takes a long time to build up the strength. And it usually comes from that fight or flight kind of situation. I'm like, if I don't get the hell out of here, I'm dead meat, you know, or I'll kill myself because I'm so fucking miserable. And that is, you know, how it just keeps working. Like, it takes a long time. You go through these cycles over and over and over for years. And then even by the time that a woman will try and leave, it takes like 7 times or more for the woman to actually be able to leave and stay gone. It's very, very difficult. And, you know, people should have more empathy for people that are going through that stuff. That's where, you know, we got to get into this mindset of like not judging each other and building each other up. Like, we've got all these kids right now. They're so messed up, being raised by parents that were just a mess, that never should have started having kids. And, you know, it's like we've got a lot of cleanup to do. And it's not like anybody's fault. You know, it's just that is where it's all come around to. Like, all of the different, in the reincarnation thing, all of the different experiences at the different times of what was going through, so people could come in and learn. Now that that's all completed, and we're going to go into the new age for the new experiences and this new expansion and stuff. But that's also like why some of the souls aren't ready to go to that yet. That's why it is the harvest. That's why you do get this opportunity to wake up. You know, and if your soul can do it and your soul can work on expansion, then you will get to, you know, ascend and go into that more of a ideal way of life on earth in a 3-dimensional setting, because you'll have an appreciation for it. Like, you'll understand about it. But, you know, souls that aren't ready for it, that, you know, they wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, like, you can even, with some of these people, I know that there's so much manipulation with words and stuff right now, but there's certain things like they can't wrap their heads around, you know, so they've still got more things to learn to get to that point, to be ready for that. But then there's a lot, you know, who are going to be ready. And, you know, I don't think you can really tell. You know, I mean, I think that there's some people that I've come to the realization. This is why I've come to this realization. Is talking to some of these people. It's like, I don't think that you are ready. I don't think you're ready for expansive kind of thinking, or, they're just not ready. They they don't question their own behavior. They don't look at themselves at all. They think it's acceptable in this abusive way to treat other people, and they feel like they're empowered, like they are. It's weird. It's so weird. It's just like watching the Holocaust play back out. Like the people who are, in fear of the dirty people who are going to get them sick, and get rid of them, and the people who would need to be hidden, the people who would hide them, and then the people who will stand out in the street and blow their whistle for a loaf of bread. So, the people who are the ones who need to hide, and the people who will hide them, they're ready. They have a deeper understanding. The people who are, want to stand out there for a loaf of bread and blow their whistle, the Soroses of the world, they aren't going to be. We're not going into a world where they're going to have rain anymore. They're done. They're all over. And, it's like it's the cosmic cycle. That's how we know that they really are. It really isn't going to keep going, because it is the end of that cycle. And it's the start of a new one. But not everybody gets to go to the new one. Like, it makes so much sense now when you think about when he says the end's not for everybody. Yeah, the end's not for everybody, because everybody's not ready. Everybody's not ready to expand themselves. But in the reincarnation part, and your soul gets this part, and then you have, all different souls from all over the place coming to be a part of it, to help others understand and expand. That's how we've had awakenings going all this time for years and years and years. That's how we've had people disclosing information and blowing whistles and stuff, because that was what they were here to do, to wake everybody up, to get them to understand, to look at things differently, to begin to question reality. And so all of that has all been on purpose, and it's been happening for a really long time. And so now when we go through this, so I've been saying all along, how I think it's going to happen is something big is going to happen here pretty quick. That's going to be, super scary, and it's going to make people have to really look at things. Like, we've got so many people waking up to different things, but there has to be like a mass thing to really just like wake people up. There's no questioning things, like right now you've had this opportunity to question things. If you didn't want information, you wanted to close yourself off, then that was your choice. But, there's been so much out there to lead to expansion, to help you to grow, to help you to understand what this reality is. And so whatever this is going to happen, then there's going to be a little bit of time, I think, but it could be a really, really short time. I mean, when they were talking about that solar flash thing happening already, that's already headed here, and then where some people were saying, well, it was supposed to be here in 24 hours or something, which, that was a week ago. There's going to be a bunch of those leading up, but how do we know that the one hasn't already happened and it's already on its way and it just hasn't gotten here yet? Like, we don't know. Nobody, sure the fuck not anybody going to tell us the truth about anything. So, you have to just work on yourself all the time and be prepared. And, but when that happens, that is where, this idea of the rapture or tribulation, or all the different words that people have for this time. I wish I could think of the one that's in the Sumerian tablets. I swear it's like called the Siddhartha or something. And they talk about the flash happening and the harvesting. And the Book of One talks about it with the harvest and stuff. So then when that happens, I keep thinking that when I've heard people talk about the ships are going to come take people, because I've heard for years, I mean, we've got ships all around us. And that's one cool thing that Mr. MRBB or whatever, the guy who I was talking about earlier, who has a channel and he looks at the sky, he looks at the weather patterns, and he's watching the earthquakes and the volcanoes and all that stuff. He's got all sorts of cool pictures. But he's been showing for years and years, people taking pictures of clouds that look like a spaceship hiding behind a cloud. So, and there's been so much talk for years that they're just all around us waiting for this solar event to happen, because they're going to, it's going to be like a rescue mission to move people, because this is going to be a very, it's going to be like a vibratory, an energetic explosion, you know, just like what you think about like the Big Bang. I don't know on what level or whatever. I know it's going to be pretty dramatic. And, you know, supposedly they say that there's going to be able to be souls that can stay on the planet, but you have to be of a really high vibration to be able to ride it, because it's going to be super intense. There's no death or anything. You can't die, because you are energy. You can't, like, can you trap? I mean, they're trying to trap energy right now. They are doing the best they can. They want you so bad to just walk right in and just be their AI person. I mean, they're trying to sell you on these weird faces, and oh man. So they, you know, they want to capture your essence. They want to trap it. They want to use it, you know. So, but you have to have awareness of that. You have to know you're a sovereign being, and you have to recognize what they're doing. You have to break free from their system. And when the expansion happens, when that happens, that's when we'll start to see the new age. Right now, we're still in that transitory stage. We're going in between the two ages, and it's pretty rough, you know, because it's so much about exposure. It's so much about releasing this gross ass shit that we've been living with for a long time. It's the release of it. So this purge, that's why we're all seeing it. It's being exposed. It's all this just nasty stuff. And, you know, we have to see it so that we don't ever create it again, or we don't have false idols. We don't have, you know, hero worship and all that stuff. That leads to where we are. So when the flash thing happens, you know, this is where they talk about the people who will leave. I'm sure in the Bible it says that they leave and then they come back, and the dead will walk the earth again. And but don't think about it as like dead people. Think of it as like I don't know, kind of like spiritually dead. But it's not going to be like the dead people, like what we have now with the evil people. It is going to be, because to me, it's going to be the people. If it were to be that way, that the people go off in spaceships, then they come back and they walk the earth. I don't know, you know, if it's the dead will walk again or whatever it is. I'm not sure how it's written, but everything is not written as to be literal. So if that's the way it goes, and they go in spaceships and they come back down, and then they're back down here, or that whatever happens, that it their vibration can't do it, they all go off like the leftovers thing, and there's certain people are left here and the other people leave, and you know, we think of them all being dead, you know, just like what they talk about with this release of this super toxin that they're going to do. And all of these people are supposed to just, you know, one split second. And, oh, God, it makes me sick. And I just hope that, but anyway, so if that happens and all those people were to go, and we would consider them all dead, then it makes sense to me that the dead would walk the earth again. Like, I would understand that, because there is no death. And when we go into that other dimension, when this expansion happens and we're in that higher state of consciousness, then there is that pathway of what we consider now as to be death or dead space, or, you know, the alternate reality around us, whatever you want to call it. But when we move into more expansive, higher minded, higher open consciousness, awareness and stuff, then you have more of, just like the people are seeing ghosts and stuff all the time now, because when you're moving into that. So the dead, do you know, like the dead aren't really dead. So it would be essentially kind of like this ascension is happening, and souls that have worked on themselves, will ride that thing. All these people die, and some of them, they could die because they're not going to go, and they're going to go in other lives and go learn more lessons because they're, I don't want to just say this person's name over and over, but kind of like that kind of person. And but then you have other ones that are more expanded thinking, but they're dying to for a purpose, to help somebody wake up. There's all sorts of reasons. That's why you can't, it's impossible to try and understand other people's journeys. It's impossible. And we all sit around judging each other. It's ridiculous. So when those people go, then when the earth were to settle back down and, we'll come back to, okay, we made it, we're here. Well, I kind of see it as like, but we're kind of dead too. We're all kind of, if we think about as what we consider dead right now, because we're in that other state of consciousness. We're in that other, it's a more expanded, you have more control over things. So that's how to me, the dead would be walking the earth again, because there's no death. And you get to that place to realize there is no death. And you get to experience it as the person you are, because you won't go and, you don't have to go and shift and be born to be somebody else and come back and experience. So you get to experience it, that shift, to see, to go from life to what you consider death to life. You see what I'm saying? So this is all part of this, like, these cosmic cycles, this reincarnation and stuff like that. And this is all for a reason. And all of the different things going on all around you is all to just wake you up. Whatever it is that you're focused on or whatever, it's all just to wake you up, to make you question reality, to make you start understanding things in a different way. Because that is the way of the future. But it will be that this event or whatever, it's going to be this big solar flash thing. That will be, once that happens, is when we'll start the golden age, when it will be abundance, when it will be, the dead will walk the earth, it will be heaven on earth, that we will be living that. But you would think like, okay, well, we're all going to die. But there's no death. We're not going to be dead. It is only in this concept of this fake reality. And that's where you got to kind of get yourself into the understanding, so you can really understand, and if you can do that through religion, then more power to you. It's whatever you need to do to connect to God, because connecting to God is how you understand yourself. It's how you become more of who you are. And it's those people that are not living for God that are struggling so much. Living for God isn't living for this guy who's up in the sky. Living for God is like God consciousness, Christ consciousness. Is the same thing that he was telling us. A certain way of living, a certain way of treating people. It's just that's what it's about. So now it's already been like 30 minutes again. And I could keep on going and going. I'm just going to have to talk more about reincarnation and stuff, and kind of what's going on, because I just think that but if you want to try and, don't just listen to me, go in and look up more stuff look up about astrology, look up about planetary alignment, look up about the ancient races, and there's so much out there. You just have to start looking, just start looking into things. And you know, you're kind of limited because there's so much censorship, and they're just working so hard right now on their agenda. But the one thing, no matter what, even if you can't go and look up information and try and learn more about reincarnation and, you know, life after death and stuff like that, is to just work on yourself. Just really work on yourself and your own healing. That is what is going to make all the difference in the world for you. And I, you know, psychology things have some good ideas, but spiritual healing is where you're going to really find, you know, that peace. You'll just find peace. And to me, there's something about psychology that there's always got to be someone who's got to be blamed. There's always got to be someone did this wrong. And, you know, when you go in for just spiritual growth, you understand there is no judgment. There is nobody at fault. You're just here just to learn some lessons. You're here to have a deeper understanding of self and to expansion of life, expansion of universe. So that's why, you know, I know there's a lot of people like me out there talking about spirituality, but, you know, and we have been called crazy for a really long time. And it is exciting that we've gotten to a time now that the information that we learned about is going to be helpful to other people. So there's lots of people out there talking about it. If you can't, and everybody's got their own little take on it, you know, because it is all like a translation of information that comes in. So there's so many people out there talking about it. And, you know, there's a lot of people who are out talking about religion and, you know, the end times and stuff like that. And that's just going to really, you know, stress you out, make you down, and give you false hope. Give you an idea like, oh, if I just do this, then I've saved myself and I'm going to heaven. But that's not how it's going to work. You're just going to be right back in this reincarnation cycle, which is fine. It's totally fine. You know, don't worry. I mean, you know, it can be fun. It can be hard, but there's, you know, not all lives are as hard as they are on this one. So anyways, I will talk more about it. But anybody who has any questions, I've said it a bunch of times, you know, you can always message me if you want to talk more about it, or you want more sources, or if you have information to share. I would really like it if people had other information that they wanted to share, and they recorded a little video of stuff they wanted to share, and then I'll put it on my channel so other people can hear, because that's how we're going to grow. That's how we're going to become better, is sharing, you know, learning and teaching one another and being there for each other, you know. So okay, anybody else who wants to talk or anything, you know, just message me. Okay, have a great day. Bye.